It is Tuesday, March 4th. It is 12:37 a.m. This is actually the last thing that I have to do today, or I get to do, because I think I don't have a lot of homework because I have two midterms. I have a midterm and a lesson test this week, and I just submitted an assignment for my algo class, and there is no project again. And I'm almost done with my second project for my programming languages class. I have to learn a little bit about C# and C++, along with learning how to use Flex and combining it with C itself. And then I have to learn how to format it in Google Sites, which is kind of weird. Like, I don't know why we're using Google Sites to really report our things, but we are, so I have to figure out how to format it properly. And other than that, I can tell that I'm getting sick right now because I feel like, you know that feeling where you've coughed too much and so now you're like, the back of your throat is scratchy. So I very much so have that scratchy feeling in the back of my throat, but I haven't been coughing, and so I don't really know what's happening. So I'm just hoping that I don't get too sick because most of my family members had gotten sick, and I was around them for a bit because, like I said, my sister was playing in a game close by, and it was a tournament. It was a game. If they lost, their season was over, so I wanted to go watch that. So you might be hearing me doing a little ahem every so often. But I'm debating about some things that I want to talk about because I could nerd out about some music topics right now, specifically with songs. I could talk about a little more serious things. I had something I was going to talk about that I don't remember quite what it was now, and then some other video game nerding out things. So, I don't know what to talk about. Or I could talk about midterms. I mean, I already had that on the subject, but yeah, let me roll the dice. Let's see. Oh, this isn't. All right, let's see. Google. Random number generator, 1 to 4. Generate 3. All right. So, what was the third one that I wanted to talk about? Weird video game things. Okay, so I've been getting into Elden Ring again. I've always been on this cycle that I will play games, and I'm a lot more into speedrunny-esque games. Like, I was pretty good at Mario Kart. I speedran that during the pandemic. I got up to 47th place in the 200cc no items category. And I had a record in Neon Abyss at one point, speedrun Minecraft, some other like smaller games, and I like games that generally have a go fast section. Like Celeste is always fun, Hollow Knight's been fun. The downhill, Lonely Mountain Downhill and Lonely Mountain Trail Riders are pretty fun because it's inherently a speed game. So I usually like those, but then every so often I really want to get into just a single player game and just go out on that. So I mean, like, some of them could be ranging from like Dave the Diver to Ghost of Tsushima, Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring. But I kind of always really enjoy the roguelike genre a lot more. And the things that are more gameplay focused than story focused, but then every so often I really, really enjoy a good story focused game like Nine Souls. My God, it was beautiful. But that also was like Metroidvania. I guess Metroidvania is another title that I love. But I'm rambling on for a bit. So every time I come back to Elden Ring, because it's a fun game, but I play it for like 3 weeks, and then I'm like, all right, I need to take a break, and I take a break for a month, and I'll come back to it. And it's fun, but the thing that I am currently getting really annoyed about is the quest structure. And I understand why they made it so kind of convoluted, because you're supposed to be exploring the space and doing all this and that, and open world and figuring out what you need to do and just interacting with everything around you. And it creates a much more authentic and exploratory experience. But I am, like I said, speedrunner, kind of completionist kind of vibe. I feel like I always want to do everything. And so Baldur's Gate was the first one where I was like, oh, I can't do everything. And that was fine by me at that point, because I'm so far, I played so much of that game, and I'm only to the third act. Me and my old roommate from boarding school share a Steam account, and we buy things for each other, I guess. And so we've accumulated 200 hours on that game, probably more than 200 hours. But that game was that you couldn't go back and you couldn't collect things, and that made sense because the scope of the game was all about your decisions. But Elden Ring does it in a way that frustrates me a little bit. Less frustrates, more annoys, is that I don't know what locks quests. And I feel like some of the direction is a little ambiguous, and also because I take breaks between sessions, I kind of forget what I was doing, and I have to just kind of figure it out again. That's on me, though, that part. But I really want to complete everything I can complete. And I was going through the thing, doing all this, I got up to Ronnie's Rise, talked to the sisters, and then I was looking up some quests to do because I just kind of wanted to see what was going on. And I'm like, oh, this person has a quest. And the first thing it says, if you talk to the sisters before you talk to this person in the basic of Stormvale Castle, then the quest line ends. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And it's kind of annoying on that fact. It's less because I just chose to do something different, and more of just, I did not know that person existed. I could have gone there. I thought I explored all of Stormvale Castle, but apparently I didn't. And now that quest line is locked, and I think an item is locked behind that. And that annoys me, because it doesn't feel like I made a choice to not do it. It feels like the game just was like, well, you weren't good enough to understand that was happening. And that kind of annoys me just on the fact that, like I just said, I didn't feel like I had control over the quest locking or not. It was a find out afterwards, and now that's kind of got me freaked out, because I don't want to fight a boss and then it lock somebody's quests. I don't want to kill anybody. Well, I never want to kill anybody. I'm a good person at heart. I don't like killing NPCs because they're weird. But I'm perfectly fine with locking things behind quests, but I feel like they kind of have to make a little bit more sense in my head. That why talking to Ronnie does that part of the quest just completely lock? Some of them kind of make sense, whereas this person sends you on a quest to collect 2 of these things, but if you already collected 2 of these things, then the quest no longer exists. Or if you defeat this boss before this, then it happens. If you do X, some things make sense, but then some things don't. And I feel really annoyed that I just kind of lost that quest line and not knowing that quest even existed to begin with. I feel like Ghost of Tsushima did it in a way where I can just go around and find quests and do them. It's not very evident that those quests are there. They're out in the wild, and then I talk to somebody and it's like, okay, do this. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And nothing really gets locked behind anything. I would say kind of the opposite of that is if you look at Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, I know how many quests exist. I know that I can look for them and therefore do them. So it's there's kind of 3 types of things, and I feel like I kind of want to compromise between, I really enjoy the way that the quest system works in Breath of the Wild, more so just because of the fact that you can choose to not do them, and it doesn't particularly matter that much. Like, that game is kind of in the same regard as Elden Ring, where your choices are completely your choices, and whatever you do can help you, can not help you. But the way that Breath of the Wild does is that it feels like if I'm choosing to not do something, and it's less of just I'm exploring around and I'm like, oh, I got to Ranni's Rise. Let me talk to these people. And then it closes that quest line. I'm salty about that. I'm going to keep talking about it. But it closes that quest line, and I'm like, it didn't feel like I had a choice to not do it or to do it. It just kind of stopped. So that's what annoys me a bit. But I want to also like talk about Elden Ring in regard to how like the world is paced, I guess, where I kind of just enjoy going around and figuring out where I am and what to do and having subtle hints on what to do. Like the same way that Breath of the Wild does, oh yeah, here's the 4 divine beasts. You could free them or not, or just do whatever you want. And I really enjoyed that aspect of an open world thing. Ghost of Tsushima was not like that. Ghost of Tsushima is a lot more linear in that regard. And it's fun sometimes, but I really enjoy just having open reign. And I could go to this place, but I'm underleveled. Or like I could, the dragon place right outside of Caelid, I could just go there and then be absolutely slaughtered by dragons and blah, 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 because I'm underleveled. And it doesn't feel very restrictive. And so I like that aspect of the game. And a Souls-like is a Souls-like, so you have to enjoy a Souls-like game experience. And I'm more of like an 85% enjoying it as a Souls-like. I feel like I enjoy games that are a lot more movement-focused. I mean, like Hollow Knight and Nine Souls. I really want to try Sekiro because I enjoy the Nine Souls parry system. But, talking about Nine Souls, I liked their quest system, where the quest system was pretty much tied, or the progressions and some of the things were tied to how much you interacted with the characters in your hub area. So if you could just ignore them and do everything that was going on, but then you would miss the dialogue and the story and a bunch of the other smaller aspects of the game that I think complete it. I love that was perfect, where it was easy to miss, but the game incentivized you to listen to the story based on, and that was how things were made within the quests of the game. Like, you were like, oh, do this, or do this because you talked to that person. And I think that is a great compromise to the Elden Ring quest system. It's because I knew where to talk to people, but I had to make the conscientious choice to talk to them. And that was like fun. And it wasn't like an Octopath Traveler thing where you know that person has a quest. It's not a thing where it's pretty evident that they are going to give you a quest. You're just supposed to enjoy the character's dynamics, and then the reward is a surprise. Oh, you get a reward here, or you did this. Let me hand that to you, and you get this, and extra story dialogue, and more. And I think that's actually the perfect way of doing it for me specifically. I really enjoyed that aspect because it felt very intertwined within the story because you're interacting with the characters, but it also gave that fact of like, the reason you're missing out on some of these quests is your active choice. You couldn't really explore the world, and if you went to a certain area, something was gone. The quests were all there, but you just had to make that choice to talk to them. And it's not saying that you shouldn't have a space that locks on quest lines. Like in Hollow Knight, when the infection comes in, that changes the area. So like there are times where it's okay to lock those quest lines, but it feels like it has to be a very pivotal moment. Like in Baldur's Gate 3, when you go onto another act, it locks everything behind you, and it tells you that. And if you miss something, you miss something. If you missed an ice spear and you only have 2 of the components and you missed one of the components and you can't go back and get them, and it's really annoying. But that's where you are. So I'm kind of feel like I'm talking in circles a little bit about a really minute detail of a very awesome game and awesome games in general. But it's just the fact that the games that I enjoy the most when it comes to the side quests is that you can make the decision to ignore them. 9 Souls, you can ignore them. Breath of the Wild, you can ignore them. But the games that just say, welp, you didn't talk to this person in an obscure area of the map and actually went to your designated location based on the hint of the hints given in the map to go to the certain boss and areas. You can't do this questline anymore. That feels unfair. While the other games feel like they're giving you a chance to do it and to know where to do it, but you can not do it if you want. So I guess that's just my little take on this little small detail. And it's not saying that Elden Ring is wrong for doing it. I completely understand why they are doing it for the context of the world and how, like, it fits within the context of an open world Elden Ring game where the lore is so mysterious and the world is so complex that these characters are just kind of strewn around and you just have to find them. And it works within the setting of an open world game itself. But that doesn't mean that I have to like it. And that doesn't mean that other things are inherently wrong as well. The Ghost of Tsushima, the Octopath Traveler systems where you know that there's a quest works. Like Octopath Traveler has the same convoluted quest asks as Elden Ring. Is it annoying sometimes? Yes, but then it also gives that extra layer of interpretation and understanding what the character wants. So it all depends on the context of the game and how it fits properly. Elden Ring's questline works in the lore department, but being a giant, massive open world game, some of the locks seem very trivial to other locks. Like a lot of the locks are like you kill this person, or you give them the potion, or you fight a very pivotal boss that changes a lot of the quest lines. And some of them are just like you talk to the wrong person. And so it feels like, for the context of that game, in my opinion, some of them don't fit very well, but some of them do. So this is just a matter of perspective, and it's also coming from, again, me as a more so completionist / speedrunner side of things, where I like to complete everything that I can complete, and it's just annoying that I now can't. But yeah. Elden Ring is still fun, but I'm missing that one quest now.